Good evening, everybody. We're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm Camille Charles. I'm director of the Center for Africana Studies. I'm also a professor of sociology, Africana Studies, and education here at Penn. I'm sure you've already silenced your cell phones and other electronic devices, so I'm not even going to worry about that. We here at the center, along with the Annenberg School for Communication, welcome you to Brave Testimony featuring Husnaa, Hashim, and we would like to acknowledge the generosity of Dean Jackson from the Annenberg School for his generous co-sponsorship of this annual program. We hold this during National Poetry Month, and it was inaugurated in 2000 as an annual event that celebrates poetry of the African diaspora. Past participants include U.S. Poet Laureate Tracy K. Smith, former U.S. Poet Laureate Rita Dove and Natasha Trethewey, Sonia Sanchez, Michael Harper, Tracy Morris, National Book Award winner Nikki Finney, Christian Campbell, and MacArthur Genius Award recipient Terrence Hayes, Penn alum Joshua Bennett, and Penn professor Herman Beavers, and most recently Penn alum Alicia Harris, among others. This evening we'll hear from three poets who will open for us, and our guest of honor, Husnaa Hashim. And now Davy Niddle. Is Davy here? Davy is a PhD candidate in English and a graduate instructor in the Urban Studies program at Penn who works at the intersection of queer and trans theory, urban studies, and experimental writing. His critical and creative work has appeared recently or is forthcoming in WSQ, Fence, Jacket 2, and the Brooklyn Rail. Davy will introduce our guests. And again, I apologize that I can't stay, but I'm going to watch the video because I'm really excited that both of you are here. Okay, so Davy.
Husnaa, congratulations. I'm so excited imminently to gush at length about your work. The chapbook is just so beautiful. But before that happens, I'm so excited that there are three other folks here, and I'm just going to quickly introduce them so we can fill the room with poems, which is why you're here. Eva Maria Lewis is a queer black girl superhero, aspiring academic, activist, and artist from the south side of Chicago. She is the CEO of the I Project, a nonprofit organization rooted in intersectionality theory, striving to cultivate equitable communities. All of Eva Maria's work contributes toward her fight to free black folks and hoods worldwide. Indine Albarkawi is an international and citywide spoken word champion. Her work is centered around her queerness, intersectional feminism, Islam, and her homeland of Palestine, which gained recognition from the U.S. Ambassador of Palestine. She currently attends Community College of Philadelphia with a perspective in attending Drexel or Arcadia, where she hopes to become a teacher in early childhood education. Veronica Nocella is a Philly-based poet and 2015 International Slam champion, a member of Philly's 2015 and 2016 Brave New Voices team and Temple University's 2018 CUPSI team. They have a rich background in slam performance poetry. Currently, they are the youth editor and ambassador for Apiary magazine and an events coordinator for Temple's only spoken word collective, Babel. Their first chapbook is to be released in spring of 2020. Please welcome our three wonderful opening poets.
Hello, I'm Nadine. Okay, so I'm going to be doing two poems. Oh, I'm standing on the X. My first poem is going to be centered around just peacemakers, is the best way to put it. Why there is no room for a peacemaker in conversations of Israel and Palestine. After debating which side is politically right, after saying, this is a complicated situation, that no side is wrong, after ignoring all my people's death, there will be a peacemaker in the room, the two-state compromise, will ask of my heritage to become martyr for a war it did not start, will tell me to forsake Palestinian people for the sake of peace, for the sake of love, puts the responsibility of my people's death in my hands, says peace will make it end, But peacemaker does not know of real tears, does not know of bloody fists and scraped fingertips on rocks, does not know of dying and still being the one to ask for forgiveness. How dare your peace intervene my justice? Ask of me to be the bigger person, to offer Israelis more room to kill me. Do not speak of solidarity until my bones unstiffen. This is passiveness. We will not live if we hug the enemy. We outstretch our hands, they will cut them off. There ain't no peace in my protests. There's no love in my living until they leave me be. Love will not change a genocide. It will only let it go on. Love will not keep me alive. It will keep me in graveyards. Peace is synonymous to endurance, and counting pullets never left anybody alive. Peacemaker will hold their peace sign. Will say, to let my enemy have their forgiveness. Will say not all of them are like this. Will say there needs to be space for those who are not against me. Peacemaker wants me to juggle my people's blood and comfort the knife that killed them. Wants me to know it is okay to cry, but not if it drowns anyone. Asks me to watch what I say for the sake of people who do not watch who they kill. Peacemaker believes I am allowed to be mad, but does not believe in how I go about my anger. Wants me to clean my tears, does not notice I am too busy wiping away blood. Peacemaker is not my ally, is not my friend. Peacemaker is in the way of my justice, of my healing, forcing me to censor my anger, take away from my urgency. Peacemaker only real purpose is to erase. And I do not have room in my conversations for peace treaties. Do not have room to sign away my anger, my hatred, for someone that will burn away the words anyway. Peacemaker wants me to juggle my people's blood and comfort the knife that killed them. Wants me to know it is okay to cry, but not if it drowns anyone. To the peacemaker in the room, I hate you. Hate the peace you promote. The only time I'll shake anyone's hand is when mine stops trembling. Peacemaker in the room, see yourself out. Displace yourself out the conversation. Take your two-state treaty with you. I'm tired of my people dying and my right to be angry getting buried along with them. I'm angry, I'm sad, and there's no feeling I need to consider except that. That's one. And this next one I wrote for my mom about the marriage she has currently. When I look at my mother, I see a glistening woman smile like a crescent moon napping amongst the stars scattered over her body. Once her eyes shut, she's always glowing. Her iris, a time capsule. She blinks like an alarm, tries to shake the memory. An unholy flash spread across a young Muslim woman's fate. You were 18 years old when a man asked for your hand in marriage, and your mother didn't say no. And your first instinct was to saw it off, wrap the bloody nub in your mother's wedding dress from her forced marriage. Let that strange man keep it, as long as you got to keep yourself. The day my father in Middle Eastern tradition came looking for my mother's arms, she locked her bedroom door, started to rummage through toy boxes, looking for her youth and dingy stuffed animals. Thinking of the tight skirt in her closet shorter than her childhood. Tempted to wear it till it wrapped her stomach into suffocation. Hoped her life disappeared like the man at the door. Before they could lynch her ring finger, choke it with a golden noose. The day her memory ran for her life because she couldn't. Chased happiness to the past, to merry-go-rounds, to horses and carriages that rose and sunk but never stopped moving on. Then forward, to holding her daughter, looking at her with eyes of crystal lamps shining over her future. But that day, her body anchored her mind to the present. That moment, she felt her only other option was death. So instead, she turned the knob. Hoped her future daughter would learn the same lesson about merry-go-rounds and chandelier pupils. When I look at my mother now, and she tells me I have her eyes before marriage, I shield them like a holy time capsule. Save them from the fate of a graveyard, and myself from being a corpse lying in a king-size deathbed. So when my future daughter unscrews my past, she only finds love and feminism and free will, hoping my mother realizes that even though time has dragged her eyes through hell, she still passed down generations worth of crescent moon smiles, and that she raised me, a daughter, determined to let her time travel to a moment when her eyes look just the same. Me and her basking in womanhood by just looking at each other, yet still weeping for girls like my mother, forced to cut their hands off for men that don't even care to stop the bleeding. Thank you.
name is Eva Maria Lewis. I am a sophomore here. And for my first piece, I'm going to be accompanied by Jacob Hirschman on the guitar. Yes. He was like, me? I'm like, yeah, you. That's you. Oh, a chair. You don't, I honestly didn't think about it. Collective breath. Okay. I don't wanna talk no more. Say I don't wanna talk no more. No, 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 no. I don't wanna talk no more. Ooh, say I don't wanna talk no more. Sometimes I be happy. I carry a knife on my nightstand in case someone call me sassy. 'Cause that's misogynistic and I don't got time for that shit. I ain't got time for it. I don't got time. Oh, say I don't wanna talk no more. I don't wanna talk no more. No, 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 no. I don't wanna talk no more. I don't wanna talk no more. Sometimes I be happy. I carry a knife on my nightstand in case someone call me sassy. 'Cause that's misogynistic and I don't got time for it. I don't got time. I don't got time. I don't got time for it. Say I don't wanna talk. Doorstep is crowded, nigga. You got to walk. I done given all my time, energy, and half smoke time to you. Ungrateful, insatiable, dirty linen sleeper. Say I don't wanna talk to you. I don't wanna talk to you. I don't wanna talk to you. I don't wanna talk no more. I don't wanna talk no more. Ooh, I don't wanna talk no more. I don't wanna talk. Don't wanna talk. Don't wanna talk no more. We may or may not have a duo called Wheat and Flour. Just kidding. Or White and Whole Wheat. We're honestly just playing on our different racial organization jokes. That song was about the fact that Black women are always caught in a space where we have to talk all the time, and sometimes we just don't feel like it, and it's not because we've been traumatized. Maybe I just don't want to talk because I'm joyous, or maybe I just don't want to talk because I'm tired or whatever. Okay, this last piece is called Ode to Taim. In the early fall of 2001, I saw red in my kitchen. Vibrant it was, and the sunlight coming from our one rusted window, red reflected everywhere in the form of iron, spice, and fruit. In the early fall of 2001, I could not say fruit. It was more like fweet or feet. I've been prompted to choose between identities before I could hold my pee. My father rolled his R's, and my mother's were linear, like the lines on pages my father could not read, the cards he later had to learn to sign. The government stamped retarded on my father's file and revoked his right to teach me to speak. It is ironic that what bound him began with the letter he spoke the most beautifully. It is ironic that he is black. His trills, not transcribed, but manifested in the form of palm crosses on the doorway, a fear of New Orleans and Chile on my watermelon. My father's tongue was thick enough to cut Cain, machismo enough to cut me off, and still call 16 years later as though he'd been here whole time. In our kitchens, in my kitchen, I have used the loosest curl to trace the road to Latinidad, to connect the northernmost tip of the Caribbean to Cuba, Sucre, the last grain of chile con limon on the counter after Xavier's absence. On the hottest of days, at the Smith family reunion, on the Park District gymnasium floor with the other Negro children looking into the bright eyes and wide mouth of Jim's caricature, I am at a loss to understand how anyone can eat plain watermelon, and why I know other than plain watermelon. My mother tells me I am black. My zip code tells me I am black. No one tells me in a line of Eva Maria Lewis I am the last. Beyonce says Negro and Creole are exclusive of one another. Someone on the bus asks me if I am mixed. I say no, and I am no longer able to roll my R's. Chile is not English. Autocorrects, I put chili powder on watermelon and gag. I burn the bottom of pans when I make zatarans. I can't tell how much heat is enough or which colonizer to relate to the most. In high school, I learned about mango. They stand out more in a food desert like little sons, like a break from the crop, my ancestor's siesta. Someone tells me the mango becomes a lone flame with Dain. With red dust, they will not take it from you. 1, because of the spice. 2, the colonizer has always been afraid of fire. And 3, this they do not sell at Whole Foods. A white Latina tells me I don't know what it means to be Afro-Latina. She tells me I would have no idea. The mestizos laugh at my exile. 200 years prior, a white man frees his mulattoes in Grand Coteau. 100 years later, an Afro-Cuban revolutionary flees to New Orleans. Him and the Creoles plot in the same tongue over chile con whatever fruit the white man no longer wanted. Con que sucre volé de la plantación et le beque. My namesake runs from her barcode. They drink and dream me into existence. Thank you.
Hello. I have 2 poems. One of them is written after Mitski, and the other one is about my best friend. Okay. Longing after Mitski. I am on a crowded bus. I see a boy get on the bus. Once he is on the bus, he brushes against my shoulder, an electric moment of third skin. He overcomes me quicker than a syllable. Clap and he is gone, though it was a kind of touch which made me wish everyone was dead but us, and he must touch me again and again until this good earth plays a trick on itself, lowers coldly into its adagio, holds its breath for the last time. He says, "Excuse me," and I respond, "Thank you." I've not been touched on purpose since language for winter has been certain. Every morning I look in the mirror and say, "I'm sorry for your loss." I'll be a boyfriend to anything, all wet wolf and heaving from a belly gone loose. I've always been a handful for a good fuck. This is just a Tuesday night, rubbing my clit to a bad omen, revising the velocity of a craving, painting myself upward and warning of the adore. My bed sheets beckon hours back from yellow to prove the danger of empty space. There's so many thorns in one lifetime. I must wear them well for someone less lonely than me. I refuse to write extensively on someone else's flesh, of the water, of the Mitski album that followed gravity into the hole again. I instead focus on the epilogue, me, a red comeback scathing for a bite from the lover who came after me. The sweet so-and-sos fluent in the dialect of wastes coming to darling me from behind. I am drunk on something not good enough for me, because remembering is a joke you don't want. I notice all things are meant for two people, and neither of them are mentally ill. Isn't that charming? To love someone without the brain running too sideways with years to hold still and say it back. If you see me tonight, don't tell me to join the circus as if I've never been an animal. I know my husband is downstream, making an ekphrasis of my pulse in the heat of eventually. I know somewhere soon is a body, and I am not hallucinating. I am home. Can't you see how all ghosts desire the April-colored certainty of a caress? How cowardly am I to die for a good wanting from a bad man? I admit it. I made up the boy for attention. There was no bus, but instead a horizontal room with my mother's wedding pictures on the wall, a grandmothered sorrow naming me failure of a million arms, forbidden girl adjacency left in the sink to its own linens and brine. Baby, you are cursed to know no baby. There is nothing which lies next to me and calls me home. I am unsynonym. I claw over every aperture of my face in hopes to make a planet. Forgive me, trail of brides, for I lost my name in the river. Forgive me, sweet birds, for I have no song. For Sam. The last thing found alive was us, puffing death threats on a Monday night while your mean mug threatened the roadside to surrender. For us, there was never enough salt water to cleanse the wound, so instead we go with lighter fluid. Because how can you worry about the reaper's undertow when you've got a best friend with so much lung? Somewhere, a sick priest claims God put us all on thin ice, and we raise a chalice to the dead fish who never feared the sun. It's funny, we always joke about how holy your funeral would be, how we toast to the coffin, stumble over you in past tense, your life, a triple dog dare, rabid boy spitting dirt at what else he can conquer. Long Island raises its sons with hard-shelled mouths, heaven only welcoming those who sink chin up, because what is ground but another thing beneath you? An ode to you is an ode to a fist that first learns both the fury and the ecstasy of a leashless dog. It is to the early sunset singing over a hometown as it burns and burns, until nothing taunts the soil but a hungry bird offering seed for a new bomb. I want to make myself a promise to you, greater than that of a god on the other end of a kite string. Sometimes we wake up and that's it. Another day of silt to say grace over. There was never a trophy for the time we took it all out from the bathtub, looked at the bone yet to churn the asphalt and said, not yet. Sam, I prayed for you. First time rosaries were in my hands and I believed they were. Somehow that will always be a cursed thing. But then you walked on water, parted a sea and crossed it eyeless, not to be Christ, but to prove death is a lightweight that couldn't outdrink you if it tried. Your existence is as certain as gravity, and that's the goddamn truth of it. So when depression comes, when the last day comes, when the earth cracks open and threatens a Trojan war of crucifixes, let us be the beheaded snake that loved too hard to be a coward. I want to be alive all of the same days as you. In time, our Maker should find us on the coast of a new peace, one where we are held, calling death to our own sky, devoid of shame, one that curls like salt beneath the soaked foot, blue, buoyant and unshaven. Let that be the benediction, the breath. Thank you so much.
our three poets another round of applause. Thanks, Al. That was so good. That was so great. It's now my super pleasure to have the honor of introducing Husnaa and Hashim. The poems in Husnaa and Hashim's chapbook, Honey Sequence, are invested in precision, and they take risks in precision's pursuit and demand the physicality of their language. In the Untitled opening poem are the lines, "Copious amounts of Elodia cells oozed out of your nail beds as you separated the flesh from my bone, digging through, into, out of me, the ocean being the expulsion of my insides. This is not a metaphor, not syntax, nor over-exaggerated imagery. It is simply a recounting of the occurrence." So good, right? The poems in Honey Sequence describe the texture and multiplicity of their speaker, the act and process of being, in the words of the poem To Be, Black idiosyncratic Muslim girl child. These are poems about how the individual and the social make and remake each other. They're poems of conditioning and counter-conditioning. The poem Mortality opens, "We have become conditioned to turn our backs as Black Muslim bodies hit the earth." They're poems precise about the biological properties of metaphor, which is an index of their precision. The poem Mortality continues, "The bullet is always catalyst for the blemish, disfiguring soft flesh and disrupting privacy. Within seconds, hemoglobin, an oxygen-carrying protein molecule, disperses red pigment. Blood stains the concrete burgundy. Blood stains our hearts terracotta." It's the move in those last two lines that I just read, from blood staining the concrete burgundy to blood staining hearts terracotta, that I find singular in Husnaa and Hashim's work. What I learn and am reminded of about blood in the poem makes it physical, clinical even, the object of scientific description. And that clinicalness comes with me as I read, as blood turns metaphoric, as it stains hearts terracotta. The poems are precise about the chemical and biological material that composes matter, and in their interest in scientific precision, they remind me as I read them that the material most integral to human bodies and to their social relations is always negotiating its chemical and public lives simultaneously. Blood leaving a body is both a medical and a social act. The poems ask me when I read them to hold their physical and social matter simultaneously, to remember that nouns in a poem that refer to things that have material life can change how I code that material, what I mean when I say blood, as I have many times in this introduction. The poems remind me that the social is made of language, and that we might therefore change the social by using words differently, by putting weight and light on the choices we make with language, by drawing attention to the fact that each word we use to communicate with one another and to or with ourselves is a crucial choice of its own. Husnaa Hashim is the 2017-2018 Youth Poet Laureate of Philadelphia and the author of the poetry collection Honey Sequence. She's a first-year student at the University of Pennsylvania. Husnaa has competed with the Philly Youth Poetry Movement, performed at various conferences and festivals, and received numerous scholastic art and writing awards, including a National American Voices Medal awarded at Carnegie Hall.
Period.
Seriously. Husnaa's work can be found in Rookie Mag, Kid Spirit Online, and the Kenny Young Writers Anthology, and Voices of the East Coast Anthology, and Apiary 9, among others. It is my luck and my pleasure to welcome Husnaa Hashim.
This is so cool. I'm so blessed. I would like to thank Dr. Charles, Davey, the Annenberg School, Chancellor, Miss Tia, Miss Garrison, and Eva, Ronnie, and Nadine, and all of y'all for coming out here to support me and hear these poems. It's a surreal experience to be doing this and to be a student here now, because I did Brave Testimony opening for Alicia Harris last year, but I was still in high school, and so my orientation to the world and to Penn has shifted a lot. It's a strange feeling. Start this. So I'll read a little from my chapbook and then also some newer unfinished pieces. Saccharine cracked ancestral pool of blood for a hive. Your lips were bitter lemon peels, zest heavier than lead, prodding through a skin predestined, predetermined for more than your expectations. You wanted me to move in the Muslim way. Translation, for my soul to leave its body, for the quick seconds between representing birth, life, death, judgment. Copious amounts of Elodia cells oozed out of your nail beds as you separated the flesh from my bone, digging through, into, out of me, the ocean being the expulsion of my insides. This is not a metaphor, not syntax nor over-exaggerated imagery. It is simply a recounting of the occurrence, energy leading to the preservation of self, life, only part of the whole, giving way to lifelessness, no part of the coast willing to claim us whole, only as crystallized fractures from the ridges between jar and lid. Back doors swinging shut, rides just to ask for love, no love, empty honey jars, light streaming through large windows, holding, asking you not to fight with her, looking up how I was looking down, playing with fish eyes on kitchen floor, dropping slinky down basement stairs, haughty emptiness. Why is darkness so familiar without you in it? You didn't even bother to stay in the shadows. Instead, how am I supposed to forget, forgive? Psychosis makes full eyes water into extended fullness. You were always the one who killed me in my dreams. When I almost died, you whispered empty apologies. How I do not appreciate you. How I feel no connection to you. Why do figs fall off fig trees and rot at the bases? Why did your love fall from your heart and rot around my ankles? Rusted love in the back shed. Honeysuckles in the yard growing on gates. Summer sun down yellow slide. Weak. I wonder if you ever visit those buried bodies. I wonder if those miscarried fetuses rot in earth like cicadas and figs do around tree bases and your love does around my ankles. I never wanted you to be sorry. I just wanted you to try and fill the honey jars with more love. Place the figs in your heart. Reverse the collision of the suicide as it unattempted itself. Roll apologies into the fish eyes. Bite honeysuckles on your own time. Buy the fetus a headstone and stop moving on when there's too much you've left empty. I wonder if you ever worry about the growing fetus inside your new wife, never being birthed. Maybe you were always the problem. Bad genes, ugly jeans and big Timberlands. I always stood around your ankles and you never picked me up. Maybe that is why I'm still down. On behalf of anyone who has waded this tide, you said that someone looked over you, past you, eyes glaring into whitewashed walls, eyes settling on legacy student. POC being PO contraband. Translation, nothing. Translation, the infiltration of an insular area with otherness, that previously regarded and in the regarding erased, that existing when told not to. You spilled these memories to me in my college interview. You spilled, coating my ears in toxic filth, turning me off from the school entirely. After the Super Bowl, I imagined a dozen St. Joe students baptized in the Schuylkill. I imagined a dozen UPenn students gunned down on Chestnut after blocking traffic, like protesters are. A dozen Temple students arrested on Broad. Think about displacement, the 9 white boys next door banging on and screaming through my bedroom wall. Beer drunk, how I want part in none of it. You said, do I, you, we notice how no one was killed this time? Listen to me. Do you hear it? The inflection or lack thereof. It is moments like these I think of mouths full of grasses, feces baked into a pie. I will pour the accumulated tension as melted wax back into your torso instead of telling you these stories. Again, this is not a metaphor, just life. I will puncture my own veins and pump carbon dioxide into bloodstream, unhook detoxifying IV, and won't pray for the moving tectonic plates to take me home. But what does this say of my skin's gravity against the world? What does this say of flesh torn inside out, honey-roasted cicadas, hexagonal wax, but memory and metaphor? Where are the lines or curvatures between your skin and the rest of the world? This poem appears kind of untitled, broken up in 3 sections throughout the book under the advisement of my editor. And I really wanted something that jolted the reader, or that kind of was like a block of prose that you didn't really know how to react to, but that very much so had a continuity to it in regards to 3 separate, real incidences, although they were very kind of, disguised. let it matter what we call a thing. We will take organic oranges, picked from trees tended to on southern soil, on stolen, native land that grew despite this. We will take organic oranges, watered with rain and nurtured with cow dung fertilizer, the most sanctified of unions, the turning of something dead into something alive. We will take organic oranges, photosynthesis running through the veins of trees. We will call these veins branches. Call the blood our orange juice dripping upwards towards the sun, defying gravity. We will take organic oranges, reaching high into the treetops for the softest, ripest fruit. We will find a creek, lay across the rocky bank and place the oranges in our laps, cut them open and squeeze the juice directly into our mouths, swallowing seeds and all because we are fierce like that. We will take organic oranges, maybe also carrying them in baskets back to cottage, placing them in juice machine and listening as technology crushes the life out of them. This ain't no Sunny D shit. This be that richness that can fuel any morning of the rebellion. Vitamin C and naturally occurring sugars line our bellies, cause our fear to run away. We will wash it down and out of us. And your memory because you made sure to get in those punches before placing the bottle on counter, looking clerk in the eye, and walking away. We are a commodity that can't afford to pay for itself. You were 15 years young, 13 days after Rodney King in South Los Angeles before the riots, Latasha Harlins. You were a daughter, could have been mother, just another black girl with post-secondary ambitions not worth living out. I know you squabbled before she shot you down. Bullet through the back of head, money clutched in palm of hand, soil, palm of the jury, suggested 16 to 30 years in prison. The judge settled on a $500 fine, 5 years probation, and 400 hours community service. You were not done justice, and I know you are dancing in the garden of angels, parallel to that of the racists, just picking your oranges, placing them into baskets and looking the racists in the eye. After we have taken organic oranges, we will collect the seeds from juicing machine and go outside sticking them into earth. There will be more where that came from. For every orange is the same until a label is put on it. 12 ounces unpasteurized, organic, preservative-free, cold-pressed Whole Foods for $6 is not 20 ounces pasteurized from concentrate with high fructose corn syrup and artificial color Minute Maid for $1.99. What is the etymology of a tongue, an orange, an entity, but a vessel for a black girl's body to be split open, to be planted as seed, to be ground up by the machine, like that which goes unwatered and untucked into earth, and still manages to grow. And that poem is important for me to include specifically because of the erasure of black womanhood or just like black feminists. Like, what does it mean to have an existence and to not have anyone kind of like cry for you or represent you in any way? And Latasha Harlins' murder, like, it was so close to Rodney King, but there was no news coverage. And people often ask me about my writing process or how I get ideas for poems or how I ascribe importance to narratives. And really, I didn't know who Latasha Harlins was. I heard the name in my head, and I was like, let me Google this. I don't know what this is, and it was a whole person. So oftentimes my inspiration, it really comes to me and it comes through me, and that's why I don't kind of credit myself for my work, because it's an embodied experience. It isn't so much of me researching and finding stories to tell. It's what is kind of immediately surrounding me or inside of my body that is interested in escaping. And that's something that I do with a pen. Gaikurina is the name of the Persian tree of life. It's an old Zoroastrian word. For Gaikurina, what you seek is seeking you. I think of you with arteries cemented into ground. You are a beating heart that I keep in the palm of my hand. Roots wrapping around my soil-colored skin. Ain't I holy? Don't I got naps all up in my hair just like this earth do? Mm-hmm. Aren't my skin just as brown, just as kissed by the khorshid? Your branches are so strong, holding all of my body weight and not allowing me to fall. They stretch upwards, fingers intertwined, the holiest of matrimonies, which each bend and lump, pop, lock, and shift. You grow. My hand can feel all of the hurt you have to stomach, the sanctity of innocence, ruptured, how the entirety of the creation is completely hidden. I wouldn't have found you had I not been searching. Isn't this life? Connection so deep, protector so strong, like Allah, like a lover's back, curvatures and nooks caressed out of hunger, imperfect, yet still so holy, still expansive, escaping all definition. My God, how I appreciate this offering. To be Black, idiosyncratic Muslim girl child is to be lost and found, the depression and the depressed, the religion and the sinner, the lie and the truth, the psychosis and the psychotic, the fruit and the infectious weed, the tear and the retraction of sadness, the ache and the needle and the stitch, the family and the estranged, the kitten and the lion, the poet and the poem, the 10 and the 0, the date and the dated, the empty pot and the full belly, the wink and the snicker, the dead and the reborn, the onion and the dry eye, the contradictor and the contradicted, the hopeless and the hopeful, the key and the shackle, the fear and the fearlessness, the plentiful and the impoverished, the lonely and the accompanied, the present and the gone, the accepted and the rejected, the dying and the life support, the moon and the sun, son and daughter, the decision and the interjection, the charged and the acquitted, the stability and the torn upness, the glue and the fracture, the bee sting and the lavender oil, the parched desert and the cool tsunami. To be Black, idiosyncratic Muslim girl child is to be optimistic and worn out, tired and well rested, suicidal and content, diamond and steel, lilac and azure, peaceful and American, refugee and citizen, tree trunk and twig, scared and wide open, disease and antibiotic, St. John's wort and Prozac, holy cow and leather wallet, beach and busy city, serenity and chaos, prepared and oblivious, heat and shade, shadow and original being, death and life itself, itself, it, self, it, self, it, enough. We have become conditioned to turn our backs as Black Muslim bodies hit the earth. The bullet is always a catalyst for the blemish, disfiguring soft flesh and disrupting privacy. Within seconds, hemoglobin, an oxygen-carrying protein molecule, disperses. Red pigment. Blood stains the concrete burgundy. Blood stains our hearts terracotta lilac. Blood stains our prayer rugs crimson. Blood stains our chador scarlet. We wash the fabrics, hang the prayer rugs to dry on the laundry line, watch them billow in the wind, rising upwards like the smoke of ashes. We soap our hearts up with baking soda and vinegar, making sure to rinse them well with distilled water before the chadors get buried with the dead people. On February 24th, 2016, 3 Sudanese American young Muslim men were massacred, execution style in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Multiple bullets sizzled through their bodies. The sharp smell of burnt flesh filled the air. Fort Wayne police estimate multiple perpetrators. The bullets had no grace in their flight, corpses laid in an abandoned house, withering. Muhammad Taha Omar, Adam Mekki, and Muhammad Tahrab, dead. We did not know until 5 days later. The media did not notice until 5 days later. It has long been time to recognize the intersection of anti-Blackness and anti-Muslim bigotry. Graveyards seem to be the only pilgrimage places we can afford to go to nowadays. Our traditional communities harbor an obvious racial hierarchy. We tend to lean towards Arab supremacy. Why do Arab American Muslim bodies attract more attention than Black American Muslim bodies? What is wrong with our hyaline protoplasm? That colorless material comprising all living cells. Is our melanin too prominent? Is our history too rich? Were our ancestors' slave ships and immigrant ships just worthless? Are our bodies worthless? The public is always silent. Have they become desensitized to our skin? We are taught to make ourselves smaller, to shrink. If only you didn't talk like that, if you only weren't so dark, if you only pulled your pants up, maybe they would stop shooting us then. I just want them to stop shooting us. In the Quran, قَالَ لَا تَخَافَ إِنَّنِي مَعَكُمَا أَسْمَعُ وَأَرَى. He said, fear not. Indeed, I am with you. Both I hear and I see, so I try not to fear the gunshots. I try not to fear the public's silence. Instead, I try to hope only for the morning when the sun will peek through the clouds, showering down blessings of light, and I will spin and spin and spin, soaking up this light until I am drowned in it. I will swim, swirling the dried blood of my brothers in the morgue with every breaststroke. As my lungs make a living of every breaststroke, I will unearth my bloody chador and wash it gently. I will wear the blood-stained cloak as a mark of reclamation. This poem I don't read it a lot outside of non-Black Muslim spaces specifically, because it was written from a place of invisibility, of violence, honestly, and it's a story that I try to guard with my heart rather than being honestly like exploitative of myself, but I feel like sharing it, so I will. In which words kill me thrice and I do not die. A Lebanese Muslim girl calls me the N-word, says it's okay because she's from Detroit, as if living in the ghetto gives her an automatic black card. A Lebanese Muslim girl calls me Abd, calls the splatter of the colored word and gash of her dagger for a tongue a painting, calls the pool of vomit spit up afterwards a blessing, the slur a blessing, calls nigga a trendy word. The Desi Muslim boys call me The Desi Muslim boys call black girls ugly gorillas, bitches. Say it's okay because they're from Beverly Hills. Say living in the burbs gives them an automatic white card. The Desi Muslim boys call me a nigger over Instagram, as if the spewing of misogyny were an artistic casualty or side effect of naturalized supremacy. Call the police helpful in the cleanup. The slur, always a blessing. Call nigger a trendy word. Some sheikh will ask me why I still write about race, and I will cringe saying that it's meaningful and relevant, that non-Black people of color love to steal our struggles, then dismiss them when we claim them as our own, or love to perpetuate the system set up against us and use them to their advantage. Oblivion and numbness create political respectability, causing non-Black Muslims to feel entitled to the plight or entitled to the generalization of immigrant narratives as if they pertain to all American Muslims. They get spread like sour butter across generations. So it becomes up to us to call out, call in, who knows, reverse the cycle of deaths caused by words by reducing the number of perpetrators. Reverse the cycle of deaths caused by words by increasing our resistance and ability to call out. I feel the bile push up and out of my stomach. Feel foam ooze and boil at the corners of my mouth. It encircles my ankles, rises up around my legs, and pools over my head, a hot flame, until I am drowning in my own disgust. Mosquitoes hover in the bile, like you hover over our psyches, pushing us to the margins of our faith communities, a sort of lack of spiritual accessibility. Use your privilege to deconstruct hierarchy like the prophet did. Don't be passive. For our bodies have known the wrath of your tongue to the point of immunity. For our bodies do not know the difference between physical and emotional pain. It becomes trauma, genetic, DNA. Call me asmar, an endearing term for dark or brown girls. Look deep within the recesses of your language and pull out honesty. In the Quran, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافِ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ وَلَوْنَانِكُمْ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. And of his signs is the creation of the heavens and the earth and the diversity of your languages and your colors. Indeed, in that are signs for those of knowledge. Yet the communities forget the indigenous bones they stand on. The communities forget whose ancestors came here involuntarily as chained animals, as if we ain't been being the entire start of Islam in this country, as if the civil rights movement were led by Shahid Malcolm and homages to our lineage. We didn't fight racism to come back to a faith that eradicates racism only to experience racism. My head now thick with dizziness, thoughts clouded and microaggressions bitten through skull. We need not defense We need systematic change in our minds and places of worship. We need you to help mop up the bile instead of spew it. We too are the womb of this community, entire homes being made of fragmented people out of bloody bile, nurturing and tending to those who came here after us. You, we inhabit each other, and we will carry you always. The last poem I'll read from here, I would say it's more of a page poem. It can be read many different ways. I think I'll read it 3 ways. On George Stinney and the electric chair. And for context, George Stinney, I believe he was the first young person to be electrocuted by electric chair. He was 12 years old. He was super small, black girl accused of killing white girls, and I wasn't sure. I am 12 years old. Lord Jesus, forgive me my sins, those I committed and I didn't. Black boys are not outlets. I did not do it. I did not do it. Sting, burn, seizure, still, rising, still, mask falls off, still. He drowned 2 white girls. Take that Bible out of his hand. He needs to reach me. White girls are not boats. You did not do that. You did to do that. You did to do that. Let my vibrations engulf your body, swallowing all 95 pounds. Wow. I am 12 years old. He drowned 2 white girls. Lord Jesus, forgive me my sins, those I committed and I didn't. Take that Bible out of his hand. Wow. He needs to reach me. Black boys are not outlets. White girls are not boats. I did not do it. I did not do it. You did to do that. You did to do that. Sting, burn, seizure, still, rising, still, mask falls off, still. Let my vibrations engulf your body, swallowing all 95 pounds. Wow. So right now in my work, I've been studying the Black arts movement with Simone White. I mean, we've been studying other things as well, but that's what I've been drawn towards specifically, and specifically their exercises of experimentalism and expansiveness, how it relates to identity in the world, but also poetics and poetry. And I've also been thinking a lot about empathy, or being an empath, and what it means to feel things that do not belong to me inside of myself, and distancing myself from identifying with those feelings. It's okay to feel other people's feelings, but you don't have to remember them. You don't have to make them a part of your DNA and this code that you walk around with all the time. So I'm bad at that. I'm working on that. And these these poems are dealing with that. Some are short. Meta. Me feeling what I feel, feeling what you feel, feeling what you feel for me, feeling what you feel for me inside of myself. Let us remember each other as the collision of gravity into itself, like a falling into the karmic dead. All words too full and barely present. They trickle from cell membranes, protruding veins the way my lung ripples against your bite, an accumulation of teeth on body. Little verbiage full exterior vessel for my soul, lit runway where the hurt seeps in, leaving permanent damage and no marks, all dissolves. I fill my tear ducts with castor oil, keeps my lashes growing, might moisturize my face when I cry. Jungle Pussy. On this day, we blare Jungle Pussy throughout our suite in the college house. Hope the lyrics drip, slosh, creep slowly beyond the doorframe. It is in this moment that I feel the most safe dancing, swaying stiff hips as a seal laughs at my discomfort around being within my own self. Then Jungle Pussy says it. Look at you, want a piece of me, the ripe fruit hanging off the tree. I'm a mango, mami, pero te quiero, papi. And I feel like the shit again. Jungle Pussy teaches me what it means to love myself despite the angst. I know you want me. I want you. I'm too good. My hips still arthritic, unlearning stagnancy and regret. Suddenly, I'm able to miraculously forget that one person who never texted me back while still recognizing my desire. In an interview with Paper Magazine, Jungle Pussy says the ocean is the Earth's thermometer. So imagine being a water sign. We feel it. Oh my gosh, who feels it like us? And as a Pisces, I'm like, yes, yes. I feel the Earth's temperature as feelings that do not belong to me inside of my body all of the time. And I experience her words within my body as a poem. What it means to move as the entire ocean down the cheese aisle of Trader Joe's, perhaps. And someone special to me longs to be there with me, even though I am well aware of the temporary nature of young lovelessness. The drums pick up again. All of this water encircles my ankles as my feet pivot, glide, skid down the hallway. And I drown. We dance into the abyss, beyond the depths of the Earth's thermometer, buckling over in laughter with each other and actualizing black joy, not the commodified kind they put on t-shirts, but pure joy that is no one's business but our own.
Wow.
I'll read two more. Anomaly. Sometimes I just want to transcend the threat of snow like the fake snow day where I lounged around for hours and laughed at the lack of inches. I lounge around most of my days. I do not roll out of bed until the last minute. I should try not to guilt this body for functioning like a body. I see me, see it myself, see feelings, feel the feelings and vomit up thoughts. Imagination aids in the utilization of the methodology necessary for survival, the absolutely insidious gushing out of one's entrails. I forget to wake up, and when I remember to, I barely stretch my body beyond walking super fast until I get shin splints. I sort of kind of wave at people. Some I know, some think know me. Some just avert their eyes. These ones I know will because we are not cool, so I do not wave and try to forget. On these days on my own, I do yoga, but not really. I drink kiwi, strawberry, vitamin water, and watch Hulu in my dorm room alone and try to cry. I laughed when I first read psychologically disabled and my name in the same sentence. Now the tears have compacted, but praying still hurts. Claudia Rankine said, to get through the days, sometimes you moan like a deer, and I get through all my days eventually as an animalistic self-praise. I'm lost. And I get through all my days eventually as an animalistic self. Praise the anomaly. Today was an anomaly. It was God. I say, there is no victim greater than elegy. There is no victim greater than flood. I, both the gushing and the tributary, I call on Yameya. I call on our water goddesses to pull, force me out of my bed. My bed is like a sinking thing, probably already sunken. I am not sad, I am just numb. And the world feels heavy. I am drowning inside of myself. The cursed side is the inevitability of drowning. The cursed side of anything is the opposite of the good. So I learned to swim because this day is the anomaly. This day is the water goddesses doing their job and me doing mine, me waking up and leaving. My body convulses out of its desire to unite with all that created it. That explains my attachment to my bed, a desire for God, yearning to have something to call to because of the almost pain. Praying still hurts, but not the calling, not the whisperings to ancestors, or the below the best spiralings of La ilaha illallahu over and over. This is a different kind of freedom, one of finding ground in the flood. So instead of drowning, I recognize that freedom is the antithesis to pain. Freedom is the ocean's floor always existing despite the flood water. This is the last one I'll read, and it's also untitled. This is how I feel about the skyline, blocked by a cropping of God, crumb at the corner of your mouth, and saliva pooling as we pray. Our bodies are communities of organs coming together in the mosque that is this conversation, and Philly weeps for us. Behind God, all else permeates the void that is unsatiated desire. We'll continue to pathologize about our existences forever encapsulated by moonlit glow. Buildings, towering artificial structures jut out in close proximity. I misname a creation for the creator, treat for God, God having made tree I being the reflection, tree bending and I kneeling. We salivate at the shoreline that is God. The quality of light by which we scrutinize our lives gives breath to the fermentation of remembrance. Memory cannot exist within a feeling. Gulls attracted to reflections in moving ocean. Ocean controlled by moonlit body. The only magic quantifiable being Muslimness, like if I pray beneath the full moon 5 months in a row, perhaps I'll lose myself in cosmos, expansiveness. Then 5 quantifiable Muslimnesses instead of my one Muslim self. This is the memory, forced prayer. You. My movements resemble more and more those of you. My mother. Widening hips, flesh that can be gripped onto by welcome hands. Tired eyes. Hand gestures when I speak, full cheeks, the primary difference being fermentation, being the quantification of Muslimnesses on different shorelines, myself and the tree and the ocean, moving inwards towards the Mecca we carry on full moon nights, my mother bending towards a physical Mecca. On the periphery of my imagination, we heal. Thank you so much.